interview, you can clearly see where he was coming from and the names he was calling other drivers who had won race against him. And the words he used when Nico Rosberg won the 2016 championship against Lewis, and the words unprintable words he used against Lewis and all that. Lewis has a very big heart, and he's a very, very strong person. Emotionally, he's a strong person. He shows who he truly is when it comes to him being a champion, you know. So, we all know where this is going, but as you political correct, everybody has just kept quiet. At least, everyone has taken some action. They banned him from the paddock. That's a very big deal. Get him off the paddock and let him see where he's standing in the F1 community.
Okay, Nana, you come into this conversation now. You're not. I'm sure you're not surprised. From what we see in football, in other sports, and all of that, this is not any surprising.
It's not surprising, no.
But this is too much.
It is too much, and there are two things, like you said. It's not a surprise. We've always known that people have these feelings towards, black people, especially when you're doing well. And for Lewis to have dominated for so long, they have somehow kind of like suppressed expressing these views. Kabina said something there. What we need to remember is that these days, everywhere be roadside. You can't say one thing and say, no, I said it to a different public. If you can't stand by what you're saying, don't say it in public. Don't ever say it. Because you never know where the interview will turn up or when you're being recorded. That's one part. The second part is the bit that you raised about Max and his refusal to, be more, forthright in condemning Nelson Piquet's, comments. This is where we need to encourage sportsmen to see themselves as more than just sportsmen, but also as global leaders and also as people who shape public opinion. If he grants an interview now, that would influence the conversation, and that will set the tone for other drivers who look up to him. But because of his personal interest, he's refusing to do that. That's shameful.
Interesting, eh? Very, very interesting. Well, so that takes us to the main bit.
Yes.
So we've always known Lewis to be a strong man. Let's throw back to last season when he was in the final 2 laps, I think, and a back tire went off, and he had to guide his way and still win the race and all of that. He has mental toughness. Do you see him using that mental toughness to probably get a win for this weekend?
That's a very, very good observation. I hope so. Already in practice, they are doing all right. I've often said that Lewis hasn't lost any of his urge or any of his captain. It's the car that has been letting him down. And in the last few races, I think the car's performed better. And I wouldn't be surprised, being at Silverstone, his hometown, the home of racing, that should be enough motivation. And all that's going on should be enough motivation for him to step up and win this weekend.
Kwabna, I don't know about you. Do you think this could just spark some anger in him to get him to do a few things? Let's take a cue from boxing, eh? Let's take a quick cue from boxing. When Floyd Mayweather Jr. fought against Ricky Hatton, I remember very well that Ricky did a very, very unpolite and very disgusting gesture in the ring. Turned his back to him, and immediately after he did that, Floyd stepped up. Once the fight was signaled back into action, stepped forward and gave him a sound beating over about a whole 45 to 50 seconds.
That's the best response.
Yeah. So do we see Lewis doing this from your end, Kwabna?
If you watch Lewis carefully, whenever they come for him, he always says that let's do the talking on the tracks. Let's get the cars on the tracks and drive. He always says that. Now, this weekend they've done some upgrades to their cars. They were responding very well on Friday practice 1 and 2, and even practice 3 that is ongoing. Qualifying is at 2 p.m. Ghana time and all that. So I'm just expecting that he will show up. They've done quite some good upgrades, but they are still not there yet. We all know that this season Red Bull and Ferrari have the best of cars when it comes to the whole season. But then again, you see Formula One. I always say that pre-practice and qualifying it means a lot. It means a lot. You see, you can measure your car status on the tracks and everything. But on the day of the racing, that is where they do the talking on the track. And we've all seen him. Lewis has come from back to win races before and all those things. And he's in his hometown. He's feeling comfortable. The fans are there for him. He's been gearing up. I mean, they've been giving him all the, attention. The fans have been giving him the attention throughout the whole weekend, and they are just enjoying it. I can say for a fact that I think the British drivers, Lewis, George, and what's his name, Lando Norris, and the Ferrari drivers are those 5 drivers enjoying the British Grand Prix as we speak. So he will show up. He will show up. He will drive, and he will drive very well. Keep his head up. He always does that. He always keeps his head up, and that's why some of us admire him so much as a driver, and some of us admire the whole Mercedes team as a team. But I still think that in our sport, in this particular sport, he's been able to move the sport from being a perceived elite sport to a mainstream sport. And I can give you clear examples. Tiger Woods, if not for Tiger Woods, golf for me was really nothing. But I was following golf. Tennis, the Serena and Venus sisters, they moved it from some sort of, a niche kind of sport to a mainstream sport. So wherever you find these black athletes, and wherever you find them in those kind of sports, they've been able to reshape these sports into mainstream sports. So Formula One can't afford to lose Lewis. As much as Eccleston keeps saying that Lewis Hamilton should retire, Alonso is still driving. He went away and came back, but Lewis is still there. So all the odds will still go against him. He's a black man. That's it. All the odds will go against him, but he always ends up keeping his head up.
Well, let's see how it goes. But before this angle came in, were these your expectations that we could possibly have a Hamilton win this weekend? Let's begin with you, Nase. What's the expectation, realistic expectation?
I think the last few races they've done very well, so I was expecting that at least he'll be on the podium. Practice has been very good for them. They've done a few tweaks to the car. The good news for them also is that Ferrari has been very disappointing the last few races. And so they have a very, very good chance. And Lewis, if he can latch onto the home support and all that's gone on, that will give me a lot of motivation to win. So I wouldn't be surprised if he wins, but at least be on the podium, finish on the podium.
Okay. Well, let's see how all of it goes. Kwabna, what about you? Any other expectations aside?
Let's be real over here. Look, Red Bull are very fast on the streets, no doubt. They are very, very, very fast on the street with the car they are driving this season. In the corners, Ferrari and Mercedes are very, very fast in the corners. That's where Red Bull is actually lacking a bit. So I'm still not going to write the Ferraris and the Mercedes. I'm not going to write them off. I still think they will give Red Bull a run for their money tomorrow. And one of the fastest tracks in Formula One season is the Silverstone. So let's see what happens. There could be some safety cars here and there. Safety cars can reshape the race. There could be rainfall. We could see who is the rainmaster on the track. And so many things can happen tomorrow. I'm not writing Mercedes and Red Bull off and Ferrari off at all. But realistically, we all know Red Bull is very fast on the streets, and these two teams will give them a run for their money tomorrow.
Okay. Alrighty, let's see how it goes. Now say, so we're viewing tomorrow
Yes.
without Kwabna.
Without Kabana, he will join us remote. And we're at our bargains launch as a commoner.
Yeah.
We're taking the viewing to a lot more communities now. So
Very well.
everybody come and join. It's a family day out. Come and join us. There'll be a lot to eat and drink, and let's have fun. Starts at 2 p.m.
2 p.m. it is, and we sure are going to have a wonderful time. Kwabna, thank you so much, and don't forget the other thing I told you. That one is not for radio. Charlie, but that's he's enjoying pow.
I tell you,
He is enjoying pow.
I said you should greet my uncle for me.
Okay.
Uncle Trump.
Are you sure? Are you sure you're talking about Uncle Trump, or you're talking about the
The
representatives
other uncles are there. And
in
those
the
uncles-
pageant? The representatives in the pageant. I'm talking about them.
Oh, that's another again. That one a higher crown.
Anyway. Well, guys, have a wonderful time, and let's see what happens tomorrow. Super Dial, my name is Nathaniel Attoh, and we're glad to have all of you who are also joining us via the live stream on our pages and also on YouTube. Well, remember that you can join the conversations on +233 55 11 11 997. +233 55 11 11 997. Get in and give us your messages and your thoughts. We've started off with Formula One action and all the issues of racism that are coming up from no less people, then people who are definitely people who have a lot of weight within the space, and they are rather finding themselves on the wrong side of things when it comes to racism. Very, very unfortunate turn of events. But, well, let's see if those unfortunate circumstances are turned into gold for Hamilton, especially considering that he's been a very big ambassador of, being a big ambassador of the anti-racism campaign for so many years now. Well, so the action begins today, and that will be at 9:30 p.m. in Rabat, and that will be specifically at the Prince Moulay Abdallah Stadium. And the game that opens up the action will be Morocco versus Burkina Faso. Do remember that Ghana hosted very successfully the 2018 edition. So, Benjamin, thank you very much for your time, and congratulations once again on landing this one.
It's always a pleasure to speak to my brother.
Yeah, sure. Can you amplify your voice a little bit?
Can you hear me now?
I can hear you.
Okay.
Great. I can hear you now. And I'm glad you are in a GFA, apparel. It's good. It's good. At least it consoles us that the Black Queens are not there. We can see an element of Ghana in there. Yeah, great stuff. Look, congratulations on landing this one. It's also even more special considering the fact that you are the only Ghanaian, in there running commentary for this particular assignment. Now, first of all, let's talk about the sentimental element of all of this. Look, the Black Queens are not in there, and it will be every sports journalist's point of pride to run commentary on your team, of course, running your job professionally, but then we're not there, and we should have been there.
Absolutely. But again, Nat, I have to be honest with you. When it comes to the technical study group's direction, Mr. Okaku is going to be here. She's also going to help in terms of.
Great stuff. Great stuff there.
So you have Mr. Okaku, I think, place where she's going to help identify the best players and the top teams for the players for the competition. Remember, she's the head coach of the Black Queens. And so it's an exciting time for the development of the game. And I'm happy because I feel that when it comes to the work that Ghanaians are doing, we definitely must be appreciated. Over the continent, I'll tell you the fact that it is not only me, but there are those outside who feel that there are talents across the continent that need to be unearthed. And I'm happy that, if for nothing at all, I'm still playing a role in this particular venture. If you recall that some years back, we had lots of Ghanaians playing a role in the CAF, program. And recently we had Kofi Kwara at the media session for CAF. We had Anthony Bafu also around. And so the idea of Ghanaians still hanging around and working at the continental level is still there. And I'm particularly excited that CAF still recognizes the work that we do.
Interesting stuff there. Well, the action begins later this evening, and it sure is going to be very, very competitive. Of course, Nigeria is the most achieved side in this competition, but in recent years, they've had their own surprises, meaning that it could be anybody's game and anybody's tournament.
I'm saying this, and I continue to say this, that the host nation, Morocco, have been planning for this. And if you take a look at their performance back in 98, back in 97, which was something not to write home about, losing 8-0 to Nigeria and not performing at the highest level. 3 years ago, the Moroccans decided to change the narrative when it comes to women's football. And so they had to go to France and pick Renard Pedro, who back in 2018 was named as the FIFA best coach for women's football because of his work with the Lyon women's team. Today, that man is in charge of the Moroccan team. And for 10 outings, he's picked up 8 wins. He's developed the women so much so that they are now, if you like, the North African side, they are the top. The reason I said that when that developmental project was done or signed with the Ghana Football Association, the idea and later found out was for them to understand and understudy how the West Africans play in Nigeria and Ghana, because we're the powerhouses when it comes to West Africa. And then we did see what happened when Black Ladies lost to the Moroccans eventually failing to qualify for the under-17 World Cup in India. So they have paid a lot of attention to the development of women's football.
more or less had a very scientific approach to solving their problems.
Actually. And so for them to go to France and pick Renat Pedros and bringing him here, for him to lead a team that was nowhere to be found, a team that was struggling, a team that didn't even have I would say, a blueprint, this man has found a way to change it. Let me tell you a funny story. So back in 1998, Morocco played 1-1 with South Africa. And then their biggest win was against Lebanon, beating them 8-0, and then losing to Nigeria by 8 goals to 0. That story has changed since Renat Pedros took over. And I said, 10 outings, he's picked up 8 wins for the Moroccan side. And so you're looking at investment would have to be, achieved in this particular game. And I said, they've invested a lot in this women's game. And so I don't want anybody to write them off because the investment that they've made or put into this particular competition is amazing. And you know how the Moroccans always want to rub shoulders with almost the big boys in Europe and the rest. They had wanted to host the World Cup, Club World Cup, almost all the top events that Europeans are hosting. Morocco says that they have the facility to host it. And so for them, this is just a bite of whatever they want to tell the world that they can do. I wouldn't be surprised that one day they want to bid for the Women's World Cup. I wouldn't be surprised.
Well, interesting things. So this just, like you've said, is this just sums up what Morocco wants to do in terms of their relevance in the world, and they're using sport as a major platform. Well, we'll just have to wrap this up and allow you to rest as you look forward to your activities later today. But what's the itinerary going to be like for you this weekend?
All right, so it's going to be exciting because you have some games coming up, which of course I'll be handling some of them. Tonight is going to be the work of my very good friend Dwayne DeLoca, the South African multi-sport commentator. He's handling the first game between Morocco and Burkina Faso. Then later tomorrow, I handle Senegal and Uganda. I do have Nigeria South Africa game to handle as well. So that's look forward to that particular game because there's already a fight here between Amanda and Rachel. They are already fighting on the sidelines because of this game. And I have Uganda Morocco game coming up. I have Zambia, Tunisia, Botswana, Nigeria, Morocco, Senegal. I do have Cameroon, Tunisia, and of course South Africa, Botswana for the first round of matches. So kind of getting ready for that.
All right, Billy, you have a wonderful time and all the best with it. Give it your best as you always do, and we're going to catch you back in Accra. Have a good time.
Thank you very much, Nat. Absolutely, thank you.
Yeah, he attended St. Augustine's. There's an Accra boy in the studio anyway. All right, you have a good one. So, Benjamin Graham of GTV, he's going to be running commentary on the women's AFCON. Unfortunately, Ghana is not represented in the tournament, so we'll just have to sit back and take lessons, and of course, the takeouts have to be major and many, especially looking at Morocco and what they've done up to this time. But, we'll start watching the games, and then we'll be doing the analysis, after all of that. This is the Joy Sports Link on Joy 99.7 FM, and we get into the major conversation. Of course, the Vice President of the Sports Writers Association of Ghana, Morris Kwanzaa, is here with me in the studio. Well, so messages are very much welcome, and as I mentioned, we'll be glad to have all of them to speak on this. We're getting some of the messages on the earlier conversation on athletics, and so we'll get into them in a bit. But remember, it's 055-1111-997, 055-1111-997. We made earlier arrangements to have conversations with the CEO of the Ghana Athletics Federation, Mr. Boaf Husseini. Unfortunately, his movement, which is in some part of the country, is hindering effective communication. We're going to try to raise him on the line so that he brings us up to speed as well on the exploits of some of our athletes as well. Morris Kwanzaa here also has followed athletics over the years, has shared space with some of our biggest athletes in track and field, and also has thoughts on this matter. We're going to be visiting that later on, but let me do this message before we get into the football conversation. Carl Tufo, I love him to bits. I think Ghana is not ready to invest into sports, so why continue? I always ask what the role of corporate Ghana is in all of this. As a serious country in athletics, we can't even have national trials. I want to ask these questions. Are we aware that the next under 20 World Athletics Championship is coming up very soon in Cali, Colombia, and Ghana is representing there? Well, Godwin in North Kanishi has that one. of course, it would be great. It would have been great to have Bar Husseini here so that he brings us up to speed on all of that. Well, we'll do that as we go along. But remember, 055-1111-997. So I'll go ahead and read to you the apology letter that was authored by Mr. Albert Commey, the general manager of Ashanti Gold Football Club, who in recent times have found themselves in a lot of trouble with the law when it comes to football. Their involvement in a pre-arranged game got them in trouble and got them the heavy sanction of getting demoted from the top tier of Ghana football. Now they have appealed the decision and we're awaiting the outcome, of the adjudicatory body's, decisions regarding the matter. But most importantly, a couple of days ago, we got some very disturbing reports coming from an interview that was granted to a radio station in the Brno area of Ghana. Now, Mr. Albert Commey, who was being interviewed, made an allegation about specific games that had been played in the Ghana Premier League, which, according to him, had been fixed. Now, remember that these conversations are coming up on the back of this heavy sanction that was given to the likes of Ashanti Gold and Inter Allies. Now, then it just begs the question, is this problem bigger than we think? And is there apparently some evidence that we're overlooking? And this is all because of what Mr. Albert Commey said. Now, Mr. Albert Commey has been very, fluid in terms of his journey in Ghana football. Now, he started off with Accra Hearts of Oak. He played the role of PRO, worked within administration, moved on from there, went to Aduana Stars, and then, also found himself at Ashanti Gold as well. Has done some work as well within the second tier of Ghana football with some of the clubs as well. Now, most importantly, he also played the role of an executive committee member, in the past administration of the Ghana FA. So he's a person of weight in Ghana football. And for these comments to come from him, sure, you'd have to, be worried and you'd have to want to look into it. So this is the apology he wrote, and I'm going to read it now. I have come to the realization that the interview I granted to an FM station in Sunyani recently has generated a lot of controversy amongst the football fraternity, especially the clubs whose names I mentioned in the said interview. My intention for granting that interview was to contribute to the discourse of alleged match fixing in the Ghana Premier League and the serious effects it has for the football industry. Unfortunately, in doing so, I made sweeping statements which affected the sporting integrity of some clubs and some matches of the just ended Ghana Premier League. I wish to say that in my attempt to falsely relay my personal opinion about the wrongful impact of alleged match fixing in the league, I rather made vexatious statements which some clubs have not been happy about. I wish to render an unqualified apology to the clubs whose names I mentioned in the interview, and to say that I did not intend to tarnish their image or bring them to public ridicule. I also apologize unreservedly to the Ghana Football Association for making such unpleasant comments and hereby retract anything I said in the interview. I must admit that I have been unwell for the past 3 months and should have declined the interview because I was not in the right frame of mind to make dispassionate comments which I am known for. I deeply regret every word I spewed out in the said interview and hereby render my sincerest apologies to whoever has been affected by my comments, including the sporting public. And this is an apology letter written by Mr. Albert Commey. Morris, thank you for making the time.
My pleasure. Great to be on set.
Yeah. Good to see you here.
9.7
I hope the family is doing well.
Everybody's doing well.
Yeah.
And your boys are doing well as well.
Yeah, great. The soldiers. Yeah. Morris, what was your immediate reaction when you got the excerpts of the sound file and then the, eventually the specific games that were mentioned and all of that?
Yeah, good afternoon once again. I've been sad this week on two counts. First of all, was when I heard about the death of Abu Imoro.
Abu Imoro, the former Black Stars player.
Yes. Those who watched football seriously in the 1980s, one of the finest midfielders, and he was buried on Tuesday. And then I was only saying that because on the side, some of us and a few others were trying to rehabilitate him, but
Very
I mean,
well.
God knows best. And then I was sad when I heard about Albert Commey thing. I had to listen to be sure I was hearing the right thing. And then so I was just wondering, for somebody of his stature, I haven't had opportunity of engaging him personally, but somebody of his stature to make those allegations, not just saying that these results look a bit shady or suspicious. I mean, in our own conversations, we've been saying it, and we know if you follow Ghana football over the years, you know that when it's the last 3-4 matches, sometimes some of the results by teams battling relegation sometimes are a bit suspicious, raises questions about sporting integrity, and we already have a big case on our hands. And then so suddenly for Albert to come out, not just to say what many people are saying, but to be a bit as emphatic, and he's not just excuse my language, any serial killer or just somebody any just anybody walking around, along the street. But this is somebody who has been in the game for long. As you indicated, he's occupied various positions: Hearts of Folk, other clubs, Mediama, Adriana Stars, and Ashanti Go. And so I said, hey, and you're on one of the platforms where I'm a bit vocal sometimes. And I said, look, he has put his club, Ashanti Gold, in a tight corner. Ashanti Gold is trying to fight the what do you call it, the FA sanctions. They've been demoted to the third tier of Ghana football, and this not just any supporter, but this is somebody who is high up there. So, is there anything we know that anything he knows that we don't know? And then, I mean, then some of the Ash Goals guys said, look, the man has been unwell, but whether he's been unwell or not, whether Maurice Kwanzaa is unwell or on leave, if I make statements that affects the integrity of the place I work, graphic communications group, whether I'm unwell, because of where
You find yourself.
I find myself, the
Sure.
position I occupy, people
Sure.
will not take it with a pinch of salt. And particularly if, let's say, my company or an organization I work with or I'm closely affiliated to has been indicted for almost a similar thing, then people will sit back and say, hey, is he trying to give us more information? And secondly, Albert spoke about or indicted clubs he previously worked with. He indicted clubs he previously worked with, and he wasn't just
And
any,
that also then
I mean,
raised
not
the
just a pedestrian, somebody who was high up there. So is he now trying to tell us something we don't know? And Albert, if you care to know, it's in the kitchen cabinet of the Game Changer, very close to the FA president. So he knows the ramifications of this. So when I heard it, I said, come on, Albert, am I sure I heard him right? I had to listen to sound bites to be sure that was the voice. And then later on, there was something that circulated. Apology wasn't signed, so I didn't.
I was about to.
It wasn't.
Yeah.
It wasn't signed, so I was saying, "What is this?" I mean, I can't make until people who are that close confirmed that it was actually authored by him. And you were asking. I said, first of all, it's an apology of an apology letter. If you read it, it's not where the paper on which it was crafted, and I don't think I'm sure Albert certainly is dawned on him that, hey, what he said cannot just be treated with, he cannot be treated with kids' gloves. He's been invited by the FA and he knows the ramifications. I'm sad because not just that, because we've reached a point where there's the integrity of the sport we all love so much, the integrity of the sport that we all want to bring the love back has been challenged. And so somebody who's high up there should be very careful. I mean, we all have our suspicions, but until you have concrete evidence, incontrovertible evidence, as was adduced in the Ashgo versus Inter Allies case, then you have to be careful how you go about these things. It's good we raising concerns about sporting integrity, but you need to do it in a manner that doesn't further damage the brand we all trying to prop up. Unfortunately, indicted clubs and in other jurisdictions, unless they themselves they know they are not clean, they could take legal action because it has other ramifications. You know, clubs whose what do you call it, integrity when it comes to such things, they lose corporate sponsorship and other partnerships. So it has a lot of ramifications, but I don't know what the FA will do with this thing he's calling an apology.
Let's take some text messages that are coming in, some WhatsApp messages that are coming in. 055 Another one from Godwin in North Kanishi, and this is on the matter we're discussing. Nathaniel Attoh, Ghana is just a joke of a country. Someone says something as serious as what Albert Commey says, and he comes back 4 days after to apologize, and he says he was sick. That's why he said that. And we just leave it at that? Well, he must be punished seriously. Come to think of it, it wasn't the FA's couples campaign. Wasn't he the FA's couples campaign manager for the FA presidency? Well, this is something, Morris has just mentioned. Then we expect sponsorship for our game? Okay, Godwin, thank you very much for that message. There is another one here. That man, Commey, knows that he can just throw any allegation and get away with it by just rendering an apology. He has given the negative media a stick to beat the GFA. I'm sure that the same man will wish that people or companies come out to sponsor the GPL after soiling the league's image and integrity. This is from Kofi in Kaswa. Kofi, thank you for the message. Keep them coming. Morris, then would want to focus on the marketing, the level of attractiveness, which is something that's been worked on, over the period. Some months ago, I hosted, Jamil Marabi, who's the marketing director of the FA here, and he said to me that on days when certain, platforms go on a negative tangent, talk about negative things in the Ghana Premier League, he doesn't even bother to go for any sponsorship meetings because the subject will be not the prospects of you X or Y coming on board, but then, we heard this and this and that. And so what's going on? And I'm imagining how much heat there will be after this.
Certainly, you remember what happened to FIFA? I mean, at the height of the corruption scandals, which have seen so many people losing their positions, some later passed on, like Chuck Blazer, and even as of now, Michel Platini and the former president Blatter are having a lot of problems. You remember what happened? A lot of the partners are those on the highest level of FIFA sponsorship. They withdrew. Of course, later on we had other partners coming in. But because corporate bodies have taken years, invested a lot into building a certain brand, so they don't want those brands to be tarnished through, when they are in partnership with other entities, other properties whose image, you remember what happened to this golf legend, Tiger Woods and all. So we can go on and on and on. And I understand where Jamel is coming from. Those who have done a lot of sponsorship syndication for the league over the years will tell you the difficulty because of the negative things coming on. And I remember last year, Swag, myself, and my president, Kwabna Yeboah, through the sponsorship of Betway, we've been doing a few training around for our colleagues across the regions. Neil Motabe has been one of the resource people, and then he's been cautioning them about the tangent. Yes, it doesn't mean that when the wrong things are done, we shouldn't speak about it, but how we speak about it could further damage the brand on which we are all feeding. It's just like when your kids cross the line. You got to discipline them, but we discipline them with love. You're not disciplining them to more or less injure them, but you're disciplining them with the intention that they'll correct their wrongs. So I know that sometimes the conversations around the negatives in Ghana football tends to damage the brand, make the brand more unattractive. But sometimes ask yourself, you're also a sports journalist. Those who give us some of these sound bites are those who we call football people. When football administrators high up there say all manner of things about the brand, what else do you expect? When they come to say league fund, they all manner. What do you expect people who you want to solicit their support to think about? What do you call it? The brand you want them to associate with. So we all need to look ourselves in the mirror and then see what role we are doing in helping to protect, to build a brand. Of course, the ills, we need to talk about it, but you shouldn't do it to the extent that it will further damage the brand.
Well, you're still here on the Joy Sports Link on Joy 99.7 FM, and here with me in studio is Maurice Kwanzaa, who is the editor of the Graphic Sports and also vice president of the Sports Writers Association of Ghana. We're delving into the recent issue and recent allegations made by Mr. Albert Commey about certain specific games in the just ended Ghana Premier League, where he alleged there was match fixing. Subsequent to that, he rendered an apology, which I've already read. And we're taking a look at the realistic effect it has and whether, as a football collective, we all have to have something to worry about. Passing comments. Do we just make passing comments? Do we just make passing comments and walk? What will happen in the eventual scheme of things, especially with the Ethics Committee of the Ghana Football Association? There's this one that says, Albert Commey, as one of the old guards of Accra Hearts of Oak, in his alacrity to tarnish the image of the Hearts management, fumbled embarrassingly. Now, it's high time the old guards desist from their malicious posture against the present management of Hearts. Wilson in Capitol Hill. Okay, is it something that has happened over the period? Is it something?
Sometimes people leave and then there are sour grapes. I don't know if this one was out of sour grapes, but he didn't just mention Hearts of Oak. All teams he previously, or those he maligned, so to speak, are teams he previously worked with. So you ask yourself, is it just sour grapes? Not just, he's currently the general manager of Ashgold. He's supposedly unwell. But he also indicted Ashgold. Ashgold are already fighting FA sanction. They've been demoted to the third-tier season, third-tier league next season for crimes they supposedly committed 2 seasons ago. Now they've appealed against it. What do we do with the appeal in the light of what Albert says? I don't know what the FA will do with what has been circulating as an apology. Doesn't mean that now others who fell foul, anybody says that, sorry, I wasn't in the right frame of mind. And funnily enough, one of our colleagues in the office, I'll mention the name. So when this thing came up, we read it. He said, he said he wasn't in the right frame of mind when he made those allegations. He's in the right frame of mind making these apologies. Funny as it may be, let's see how the FA, but I think beyond the Albert Commey thing, we also need to look at sporting integrity, because every now and then when the league is about to end, we see all manner of results, all manner of, which raises suspicion. It's not
Joy 99.7
deal with it, but sometimes I sit back and I say that, Nat, are we not innately corrupt? Don't we, the old boyism, or what we say, sometimes we know what they do. I'm not a football administrator, but I think I've been around long enough to know what they do. They help each other. They are friends. So let's say Nat FC is in the throes of relegation, is going to play Morris FC and probably win or lose. It won't affect me, and Nat needs points badly. They have their own way of doing it, but how do we safeguard to ensure sporting integrity? The reason why the EPL is as attractive as it is, it's not just, it's because they ensure sporting integrity. So anything you say, that's why sometimes they go hard at players, match officials who make disparaging remarks about referees. Yeah, referee decisions
Morris,
are
I don't
problematic,
intend
right?
to cut you. You've raised a very important point about the English Premier League and
Yeah.
its examples. Now the question is, do we see ourselves heading in that direction, especially because of incidents like these, where there are written and unwritten rules? Uh, the football collective goes to Congress, and we introduce these within the ethics space, so that everybody is guided as to what you can say and cannot say when you're granting interviews to media houses. Of course, hey, we love the sound bites. As a journalist, I love the sound bites. But at the end of the day, we also want to improve a product that, has to be sold not only to us, but the rest of the continent and the rest of the world by extension. So, do you see us getting there to a place where, based on this precedents, they say, look, complaining about referees, you can only do it once, just like it's done in the English Premier League. Do you see us getting there?
If we really want to get there, then we have to be deliberate about it. Digesting the disciplinary committee report on the Ashgold versus Inter Allies case, we know the players or clubs and officials are subscribed to GFAs, a code of conduct and all those things. But reading them, and I was of the opinion, speaking to other well-meaning and football administrators and others who had a lot of insights into these things, that I think we've reached a point where individually we should let each individual associated with to sign up to those code of conduct and all that, but they need to understand what they are signing up to. So we need to, so PFAG, when it comes to the players, you explain it to them. They should sign individually, so that just like Nat, yourself, and I believe most staff here, you've signed to certain code of conduct. If you fall foul, then the certain disciplinary actions are kicked in, and then we work ourselves individually, collectively. And so it's not just something that you just have to leave with the FA. Everybody who's associated with the clubs themselves, because it's their business, it's their brand.
Yeah,
So-
because I remember some years ago when a coach, in the Ghana Premier League said, look, if you guys don't get your act together, these referees don't get their act together, blood will flow. These were the words, and I hope you do remember that incident. Eventually, he was invited by the disciplinary and ethics committees, and eventually he had to, apologize for those comments made. But question is, could that kind of comment have been avoided?
Those comments could have been avoided, and that's why I'm saying that I'm advocating that going forward they should be better educated on the implications of those things. I mean, you sign up to it, but you need to understand what you're signing up to. But we shouldn't just leave the comment like that, because we still have issues with officiating. It's some of the, red flags, some of the things that trigger all the reaction we see. So we continuously work on officiation, even in the most advanced leagues where they have technology to aid video assistant referees. You have the gold eye technology, and I was reading on FIFA.com that at the World
The
Cup
offside.
the offside. It's still a human institution.
Yes.
The gadgets are there to assist, so you still have
And that's why Sepp Blatter during his era was always fixated on leaving football to have its human touch and its human element.
Yeah, but and I agree with you, but sometimes we've reached a point where you need technology, because sometimes the ball hits, and then you need to, within a split second, decide whether or not the full circumference cross the line.
The line, yeah.
Yes, so there should be a point beyond which we shouldn't allow technology to interfere. But all I'm trying to say is that even where we have technology to assist, we're still making errors. So, for instance, I'm refereeing, there always will be errors. But how do we continuously improve officiating so that, even when FIFA referee Nathaniel Attoh makes a mistake, difficult as it is, looking at the ramification of those errors, we can say that he didn't make that error out of influence. And that's not because he wanted, for instance, to maybe his influence, but this was human error, like we see sometime. But we need to continuously work at it. Like you said, if the EPL did not get to where it is, it's had its own problem. You can go back to the Hillsborough disaster and all those things, out of which the investigation, the report, they changed how the stadiums were designed. They removed the inner perimeter fencing. They brought in these stewards. But out of the difficulties, out of our challenges, we should be able to improve it every now and then. We need to continue making improvement to the products.
Well, stay here on Joy 99.7 FM. This is the Joy Sports Link, and we are just taking a quick look at the possible, after effects of a U-turn, which is allegations made and an apology rendered within a short period of time. So we're looking forward to that day when the ethics committee will convene and take a decision or determine this particular matter. It sure will be crucial for the forward story. Or
Yeah,
the
because
story.
then whatever happens, and I'm not trying to put any pressure on them, nothing prejudicial, but everybody will be looking up to them. Also, because of who made the comments, Albert is connected with the leadership in a way. So, and I'm not in any way trying to say that they will deliberately interfere. No, but people will try to join the dots, because whatever happens, the precedent could have, ramifications for the game. So what happens if somebody else is connected and make such disparaging remarks, and then later says, I was in the right frame of mind. So, but let's see how they go about it.
Well, on the human side of things, we would want to wish Mr. Albert Commey well. We got to know that he hasn't been well for some time now, so we wish him well, and we're hoping that he recovers steadily, and he recovers well, and so he can get back to what he does. It's been a very interesting season. We're gearing up for the football awards later this evening, and hopefully we're going to see some big names and big performers, get symbolically acknowledged with awards. But in all, with all these things that have happened in the Ghana Premier League, how would you describe, the level of competition and the quality of football that you have seen, over the period? Compared to two previous seasons. I'm asking because, we had quite a number of ex-Ghana internationals come back. The stories of the likes of Sule Ali Muntari, of Samuel Nkum, both at Hearts of Oak.
Asamoah the previous season.
Yeah, Asamoah the previous season at, amazing stuff that these guys have done at Hearts.
Yeah, which is good. There are a lot of positive vibe around that. Good. You get good content around it, and it's good for marketing the league. And hopefully it will get bigger and better. This thing, they open the door. Sometimes for some of the players, when you talk to them, the kind of thing they hear in the media space and around, so they are a bit unsure whether or not. I was reading recently that Emmanuel Ajimambidu suggesting he might be joining one of the clubs next season. Want to see more of them. It will help grow the brand. Because you need players who had already built a certain image around which you market your league. In a situation where some of the best performers are drifting outside, it's good when you have a reverse flow. If we were doing something, we would say reverse osmosis. Then players, big name players, they may not be at the prime of their career, but at least they make good headlines. Sule Muntari, well known. He didn't play big time football here before going outside, but he played wherever. He a Champions League winner. He won the FA Cup with Portsmouth. Serie A. So he's a big name player, Black Star player former Ghana international Samuel Inkum. So we want to see a lot more. I hope their stories will inspire others to want to come back. Gradually, if we have a lot of these big name players, the individual brands will improve. Talking about the clubs, as a collective, the league will improve. It becomes bigger selling points for the clubs, the individual players, and all those associated. And perhaps the clubs will be able to attract better partnerships, corporate partnerships. Attendance at league matches will improve, because we expect that these players will improve their performance on the field, and then generally the football enterprise will become more profitable. Hopefully, if there's a lot more money, we can get some of these guys coming back. I remember Glasenawako. He had built some reputation. He came, and last season you could see he made an impact at the Accra Great Olympics before moving to the city rivals. I don't have his permission to mention how much he was paid, but I know that Olympics, they mobilized some money, and then they were paying. He was one of the highest paying players, one of the highest paid players in the season. I'm sure they can have different models to attract these players, and I'm sure if these clubs can make that effort to bring some of those players here, it will make them more attractive collectively, to make the brand more attractive.
This message says, Absu, I'm listening to you from Dansaman. My name is Kwame. We lie too much to ourselves in this country, especially the football sector. What Albert Commey said is the truth. Some days before the last matches were played, W. Otando came out to mention the alleged attempts by some people to influence Hearts versus RTU. On that particular game, the alleged matches were staged. It's the truth, and the evidence is the issue. Okay, all right. Now, I'm sure everybody would go on and on about what they've heard, what they probably may have seen, and all of that. But I'm sure that the determination of this particular matter will be key. And that's the reason why we all have to watch this space, like they say.
Yes, but not as journalists. You and I have heard so many things.
Yeah, exactly.
You have been told so many things. We've seen so many things. But if you don't have concrete evidence, the caution, the rule of thumb is that you don't go out until you can prove. Because, I mean, you could be sued for defamation and all. And, of course, you need to weigh the atmosphere. You need to look at, I mean, is it going to have collateral damage? You need to, I mean, weigh up what you have. Is it good enough to go on air as a journalist? And similarly as football people, unless they know something you and I don't know. Suspecting something is one thing. Having concrete evidence is another thing. And when you go to these adjudicating bodies or even the civil courts, you don't just say, I heard this. You've got to prove. You've got to prove with concrete, or they say incontrovertible evidence. If you don't have it, shh.
If you don't have it, keep quiet. Well, and this is one rule that has also been activated, at the level of FIFA, especially after number 12 was released. I remember very well that, the FIFA president, Gianni Infantino, pushed for the activation of that clause. I just try to get to their website and share it with us, where it's talking about getting enough hard evidence, getting possibly video evidence to prove anything you bring up against any operative within that space. Otherwise, it'll be termed as...
Yeah, because people have built reputations over the years. They build brand. They spend lots of time, energy, money in building reputations. So you just don't tarnish it. It's not just another, if you see something, say something. Yes, if you see something, say something. But make sure that what you say, you have something to back it. Not just saying it, but at the end of the day, we want to effect a certain change. If the EPL and some of the German Bundesliga is the standard, yes, but they spend time to... They weren't just chasing ghosts. They had things to work on. So yes, if you see something, say something, but have something to back it so that we all can effect changes.
Now, we look at all of this and we're asking ourselves, how will the support structure for the Ghana Premier League look like when it eventually resumes? It's a question I would have wanted to keep in the back burner for now, but we still have to ask the questions. How do you feel it will look realistically with all of this?
I don't understand the question. Could you
Okay,
explain when you say
the support structure, sponsorship wise?
Okay.
Support structure, because my expectation, as I mentioned to you earlier, was that by now the Ghana Premier League should have had a headline sponsor, and we've had many assurances, from the top brass at the FA that it will happen, and that conversations have reached a point where they're just about, applying pen to paper to sign, but we still haven't seen it. A whole season went by.
We still haven't seen it, and I know there's been a lot of conversations in the last couple of years. Unfortunately, remember number 12 dealt a big blow, and if we went through the normalization period. When we're normalizing, there was COVID, and suddenly the economy itself is challenged. The corporate bodies, they already have challenges, but they need it's work in progress. I know also that the broadcast rights thing is also a challenge for some corporate bodies who were approached, who also wanted to sponsor. They had issues with how the broadcasting thing had been worked out. So it's something the FA themselves are aware of, and I'm also hoping that hopefully when we get to 2023-24, when the whole autonomous FA thing kicks in, would have been able to cross some of these bridges. But there's a lot of work to be done, Nat. When you look at the FA Cup, it's a different brand. You see how attractive it is? Because they are very deliberate in what they do, the experiential side of it and all those things. The league, unfortunately, is not being handled well. Hopefully the autonomous FA thing, when they cross all the T's, dot all the I's, take all the clubs through it, over time we'll have better management of the league. We'll get a headline sponsor. But the APL, they don't have headline sponsor. Remember, we used to have Carlin. We used to have.
It's because
you used to have, but you see, because they have very huge monies from broadcast rights, so it's enough to share. So whichever way, we want a very profitable and attractive football enterprise that can attract all manner of. It's not just the headline sponsor, but there are so many categories that we need partnerships in. But hopefully, as we grow the brand over time, maybe next season or the season after, we'll be able to have a headline sponsor. But there's a lot of work to be done.
A lot of work to be done indeed. I don't know what you also think, and that's the reason why.
Sorry,
sure.
not to cut you, but I'm happy what's happening at Asante Kotoko. I'm happy what's happening when you look to some extent Dreams FC, Hearts of Folk. We are beginning to see, because you see, if the individual clubs can get the art right, then especially the big clubs, then they could also inspire the others to do it. So we want to see a lot more Nanaya and Ponsans and all those guys with, new ideas, fresh ideas, with a lot of experience and then exposure in the corporate world to come in and help repackage the club, because the clubs themselves are there individually are not very attractive, and it's the clubs that come together to make the league.
Well, we'll see how it goes. We need to hear you out there as well. So we'll activate the phone lines now so that you can join us. It's 0302 216 541. 0302 216 541. This should be, off the snap of a finger by now, isn't it? So 0302 216 541. Get through to us on the phone lines. Let's have a conversation. And you let us know what your thoughts are as well on this particular matter. If you have feedback for the FA, the Ethics Committee, what we want to see them do a few things differently as well, or institute a few more measures in addition to what exists, let us know. What do you think, Congress would look like, especially on the advocacy side and pushing for new measures or new regulations to be, for pushing for amendments, more or less?
No, I think you remember there was suppose Congress in Kumasi and all those things, it tells you there still are problems that need to be fixed. But the next one, I'm told, is an ordinary Congress. So, but I think the clubs themselves realize there's the need to improve, to reform the system. Under this new administration, we are seeing a lot of institutional structures, new things being done. We are not there yet, but we can see progress. I mean, no matter what, I mean, we can see progress. There have been difficulties, but we can see progress. Even on the referee front and everything, we can see progress. We all need to support them as a collective, as individuals. The clubs need to fix their clubs, and then we need to fix the regulations. How do we walk everybody through? We need to move together as a unit. Hopefully, then we should be able to begin to tick the boxes where we've got things right, where we need to tweak, where we need to fix, and then as a collective, we'll see improvement over time.
The Greater Accra chairman of the Ghana Journalists Association, Charles Benoni Okai, has sent this message. He says, Nat, number 12 dealt a huge blow, but to what extent has the new executive repositioned itself to demystify the negative notion about the FA? The FA must be transparent and have full disclosures. No brand will associate itself with you if you operate, in the dark. Now, the Ghana soccer needs transparency and open minds. I heard seeing our soccer as it is. Lastly, we must stop FA executives from owning clubs while in office. It's bad and must stop. Thank you very much, Charles Benoni Okai, the chairman of the Greater Accra branch of the Ghana Journalists
Is
Association.
it the same guy from FC Hijack?
Yes, I'm sure.
Yes,
Yeah, sure. He's also the editor of the Graphic Business newspaper.
Yes.
Now, that's very interesting. Now, I was having a conversation yesterday with a few friends. Some of them would have loved to be part of this conversation, but because of roles they're playing in this restructuring process and getting an autonomous body, they cannot be part of this conversation. Now, it looks like we're close, and I like the look and feel. I like the kinds of the kind of stimulus we are getting at this time, that we need to get to a point where those who run the league will run and will not have any interest whatsoever in the clubs.
No, they won't. They will have interest because you see, it's the Premier League. Eventually, we need to understand it. The Premier League Company Limited currently is a FA through the Premier League Committee headed by Leporo Alaji Mendi Jaola. Eventually, the FA will have shares in the company, but it's still, I'm sure it's going to have, they will have their own structure. It might have a golden share, but it's the Premier League Company that will run the league. The Premier League Company will be formed, I don't know how many club
representatives.
How many club leagues you're going to have. So if it's an 18 club league, we are going to have 18 directors. Each of the clubs are going to be members, so they need to fund it.
So we're not running away totally
no,
from...
so my understanding, engaging all the guys who are there, I've a big sneak preview. I haven't seen the full report that was presented. Toby Afedes Guda presented to the ESCO, but it's a blend of the EPL, the German Bundesliga, a little bit about the South Africa, and then our own peculiar situation. But we'll get there.
But at least we're going to have a situation where we're going to have professionals come in there who are not necessarily attached to any kind. I mean, that's what I was even driving at.
We are going to have professionals working in just as Joy FM. You have directors, Kwesi Chum and others. But we have professionals, Dorinando, a professional DJ Black.
Hey, and talk about Dorinando. Something big is coming up on Tuesday.
Hey, my sister. Hey.